Hello, Night Wanderers. Welcome back to the Pale Watcher. Before we dive into tonight's tale, take a moment to get settled, adjust your pillows, pull your blankets close, and if you're enjoying these stories, please hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Tonight's story is about sleep. We all do it, need it, crave it. But what if sleep wasn't rest? What if every time you closed your eyes, you went somewhere else, somewhere real, somewhere dangerous? What if the line between dreaming and waking wasn't a line at all, but a door that swings both ways? So close your eyes if you dare, let yourself drift, and let me tell you about Sarah Chen and the town where everyone sleeps, but no one ever truly wakes. The semi came out of nowhere. That's what they always say in accident reports, isn't it? Out of nowhere. As if physics and momentum and the simple act of not paying attention for 3 seconds could be classified as nowhere. But in that moment, as I saw the 18-wheeler jackknife across Interstate 90 in the middle of a Montana blizzard, it really did feel like it had materialized from some other dimension. I jerked the wheel. My car hydroplaned on black ice. The world became a spinning carousel of white and gray and the sickening crunch of metal against metal. My head cracked against something hard. Glass exploded inward like frozen rain, then nothing. I woke to the smell of coffee and antiseptic. My eyes opened slowly, fighting against crusted sleep and the dull throb behind them. I was in a bed. Not a hospital bed, but an actual bed with a quilt and wooden headboard. Sunlight streamed through lace curtains, painting the room in shades of amber and cream. This wasn't right. I should have been in a hospital, should have been surrounded by machines and monitors, and the steady beep of equipment tracking my vital signs. Instead, I was in what looked like a guest room in someone's farmhouse. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through my ribs, and my vision swam with dark spots. I fell back against the pillows, breathing hard. "Easy now," a woman's voice, warm and maternal. "You took quite a hit. Lucky to be alive, really." A figure materialized in the doorway, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair pulled into a neat bun and eyes that held both kindness and something else I couldn't identify. Wariness, maybe. Or sadness. "Where am I?" My voice came out as a croak. "Millbrook, small town about 40 miles from where you crashed. State trooper found you and brought you here. I'm Martha. I run the local clinic. Well, I say clinic. It's really just my house and some medical training from 40 years ago. But we don't get many visitors out here. And the nearest hospital is 3 hours away in good weather. In this blizzard," she shrugged. "How long have I been out?" 3 days. You had a concussion, some cracked ribs, and enough bruises to make a leopard jealous. But you're healing up nicely." She set the glass on the nightstand. "Do you remember anything about the accident?" I tried to think back, but my memories were fragmented. The semi, the spin, the impact, then something else. A dream, maybe. A sensation of falling. Not physically, but through layers of reality. Like sinking through ice into dark water. Not much, I admitted. Just the crash. Martha nodded as if she had expected this answer. "Well, you're safe now. That's what matters. Once the road's clear, we'll get you to a proper hospital for a full checkup. Until then, you're welcome to stay here. Thank you. I'm Sarah Chen, by the way." "She's pleased to meet you, Sarah. Though I wish it were under better circumstances." She moved to the window, adjusting the curtains. "There's something you should know about Millbrook. We're a quiet town, peaceful, but we have some unusual customs, rules that might seem strange to outsiders. It's important that you follow them. Rules? Nothing onerous. Just be in bed by 10 p.m., keep your door locked at night, and if you hear anything strange after dark, voices, footsteps, music, ignore it. Don't investigate, don't open your door, just stay in bed and wait for morning." The hair on the back of my neck prickled. "Why? What happens at night?" Martha's expression went carefully neutral. Nothing if you follow the rules. Get some rest, Sarah. I'll check on you later. She left before I could ask more questions, closing the door softly behind her. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing despite the fog of pain medication. Something was wrong with this place. I could feel it the way you can feel a storm coming, a pressure in the air, a wrongness just beneath the surface of things. I forced myself out of bed, ignoring the protest of my bruised body. The room was charming in that calculated country way. Handmade quilts, antique furniture, and dried flowers in a vase. But there were oddities, no clock, no mirrors, and the window, I realized as I approached it, was nailed shut. I peered outside. Millbrook spread below like a postcard of small-town America. Main Street is lined with shops, a church with a white steeple, houses with neat yards and picket fences. Peaceful, idyllic, completely empty. No cars on the street, no people walking, no movement at all except for the gentle fall of snow and the sway of a sign creaking in the wind. The town looked frozen, like a diorama or a movie set waiting for actors to arrive. Then I saw him, a man, standing in the middle of the street, perfectly still. He was looking up at my window. Even from this distance, I could see that something was wrong with his face. It was too smooth, too blank, like a mannequin or a mask. He raised one hand and pointed at me. I stumbled backward, my heart hammering. When I forced myself to look again, he was gone. The street was empty once more, as if he'd never been there at all. I climbed back into bed, suddenly feeling more tired than I had any right to be. The medication, probably, or the concussion, or the fact that I'd just seen something that couldn't possibly have been real. Sleep claimed me before I could think further, pulling me down into darkness. I dreamed, or at least I think I was dreaming. The quality of the experience was wrong, too vivid, too coherent, too real. I was walking through Millbrook, but it was different. The sky was the wrong color, a deep purple that hurt to look at directly. The buildings were the same, but their proportions were slightly off, like looking at the world through a warped lens. And there were people now, dozens of them, hundreds maybe, all moving through the streets in a strange synchronized dance. They walked in circles, perfect circles. Their faces were blank, not just expressionless, but actually blank, smooth skin where features should have been, like unfinished sculptures. I tried to speak, but no sound came out. I tried to run, but my legs moved in slow motion, as if the air had become thick as honey. One of the blank-faced people stopped circling and turned toward me, its head tilted at an impossible angle. And then, horror of horrors, it smiled. Not with a mouth, because it had no mouth, but its face somehow conveyed the expression anyway, like clay being molded by invisible hands. "You're not supposed to be here," a voice said. Not out loud, but directly into my mind. "You're still awake. You need to sleep more." "I am asleep," I tried to say, but again, no sound emerged. "No," the voice insisted, "you're in between, caught on the threshold. This is dangerous for you, for all of us. You need to choose, sleep or wake. You can't stay in between." The blank-faced person reached for me with hands that had too many fingers, and I woke with a gasp. The room was dark now. How long had I slept? I fumbled for a light switch and found one on the lamp beside the bed. Warm light pushed back the shadows, but somehow made the room feel smaller, more claustrophobic. A glance at my phone showed it was 9:47 p.m., almost 10. I remembered Martha's warning, be in bed by 10 p.m. The fact that I was already in bed should have been comforting, but it wasn't. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my room, slow, deliberate footsteps that stopped just outside my door. The doorknob turned. I'd locked it. I distinctly remember locking it, but the door opened anyway. Martha stood in the doorway, but something about her was different. Her eyes were too bright, too focused. Her smile was too wide. "Time to sleep, Sarah," she said, in a voice that was hers, but also not hers, like two voices speaking in perfect unison. "I am sleeping," I said, though I wasn't sure if that was true. "No, you're still too awake. You need to sleep more deeply. Come with me." She extended her hand. Her fingers were too long, stretching like taffy. "No," I said, pressing myself against the headboard. "This is a dream. You're not real." "Of course I'm real. We're all real. The question is, are you? You were supposed to die in that accident, Sarah, but you didn't. You ended up here, in between, and now you're causing problems. You need to choose sleep or wake. You can't stay in between." The same words from my dream. Or had that been a dream? Was this the dream? I couldn't tell anymore. Martha stepped into the room, and her form began to blur at the edges, like a photograph left in water. Behind her, I could see the hallway, but it wasn't the hallway I'd seen earlier. It stretched impossibly long. Doors lining both sides, each door opening to darkness. "Last chance," Martha said. "Come willingly, or we'll take you anyway. It's better if you choose." I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the lamp and threw it at her. It passed through her like she wasn't there at all and shattered against the wall. Martha didn't flinch. She just smiled, that too wide smile, and reached for me. I rolled off the bed and ran for the window, not caring about my injuries. My hands fumbled with the nails holding it shut. They were old, rusty, but they held fast. Behind me, Martha's form was changing, becoming taller, thinner, less human. "You can't run from sleep, Sarah. Everyone sleeps eventually." The last nail came free. I shoved the window open and dove through, not thinking about the drop or the snow or anything except getting away. I fell and fell and fell, much further than 2 stories should allow. I fell through darkness and cold and the sensation of passing through multiple layers of something that wasn't quite reality. I fell until I woke with a gasp. The room was dark. I fumbled for a light switch and found the lamp. Warm light pushed back the shadows. I was in the same room, the same bed. The window was closed and nailed shut. The lamp sat undamaged on the nightstand. It was 9:47 p.m. Again. My phone showed the same time. I picked it up with trembling hands and checked the date. The same day, the same moment I'd woken before. A loop. I was in a time loop, or I was still dreaming, or I was losing my mind. I heard footsteps in the hallway, slow, deliberate footsteps approaching my door. The doorknob began to turn. This time I was ready. I grabbed a chair and wedged it under the doorknob. The door pushed against it, but held. Martha's voice came from the other side. "Sarah, let me in. It's time to sleep." "I'm not sleeping. This is a dream. You're a dream. None of this is real. Then why are you so afraid?" Her voice was reasonable, almost kind. "If nothing is real, what harm could there be in opening the door?" "Because I don't trust you. Smart girl. But it doesn't matter. You're already asleep, Sarah. You've been asleep since the accident. Everything you think is waking. This room, this conversation, your resistance. It's all just the dream of someone in a coma, fighting to stay conscious. But you need to let go. You need to sleep deeper. It's the only way. The only way to what? To wake up. Really wake up. You're trapped in between, and the only way out is through. You have to go deeper into sleep to find the way back to waking. I know it sounds paradoxical, but that's how the threshold works. I wanted to not believe her, but some part of me recognized the truth in what she was saying. I wasn't awake, not really. I was in some liminal space, caught between consciousness and unconsciousness. What happens if I go with you? I asked. You'll sleep, really sleep, and in that sleep, you'll dream, and in that dream, you'll find the path back to waking. Or you'll sleep forever. It's hard to say. The threshold is unpredictable. That's not very reassuring. I'm not trying to reassure you. I'm trying to give you a choice. Come willingly and have some control over what happens. Or resist, and we'll take you anyway, and you'll have none. I looked at the chair wedged under the doorknob. It wouldn't hold forever. Even now I could see the wood beginning to splinter. Time's up, she said. Choose, Sarah. Come with me, or stay here and loop forever. Those are your only options. I thought about the loop, about waking at 9:47 p.m. again and again, always afraid, always running, never able to escape. That was its own kind of hell. Okay, I said, I'll go with you. Martha's smile was almost gentle. Brave girl. Don't worry, most people make it back eventually, and the ones who don't, well, they find a different kind of peace. She extended her too long hand. I took it, and her skin was cold as ice. Close your eyes and sleep. I closed my eyes and fell into darkness. The darkness had texture. That was the first thing I noticed. It wasn't empty void, but something substantial, like being wrapped in velvet or submerged in warm water. I could feel it pressing against my skin, my eyelids, filling my lungs with each breath. I was still aware. That was the second thing I noticed. I'd expected oblivion, the simple nothingness of deep sleep. But I was here, conscious, thinking, trapped in darkness, but somehow still myself. Welcome to the deep sleep, a voice said. Not Martha's, but something else, something that might have been the darkness itself speaking. Population, everyone who ever closed their eyes. Light began to filter through the darkness, not the harsh white of day, but a soft, diffuse glow that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Shapes resolved around me, buildings, streets, people. I was in Millbrook, but not the Millbrook I'd seen from my window. This was something older, more primal. The buildings were the same, but somehow more real, as if the waking world was a copy, and this was the original. The sky was that same wrong purple from my earlier dream, and there were people, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all moving through the streets in their synchronized circles. Up close, I could see that they weren't just blank-faced. They had no faces at all. Smooth, featureless heads that turned to track my movement as I walked past. Don't stare, the voice advised. They don't like to be noticed. Who are you? I asked the darkness. I'm what you might call a guide, or a symptom, or a hallucination. Depends on your perspective. I'm what your conscious mind creates to help you navigate the unconscious. Every sleeper has one. Where am I really? Exactly where Martha said. The deep sleep, the collective unconscious made manifest. Jung would have loved this place. Freud would have had a field day. But the reality is simpler than their theories. Every time a human sleeps, they come here. Most don't remember. Most float through, experiencing it as dreams, never fully conscious of where they are. But you're different. Why? Because of the accident. Because you were dying, and your consciousness refused to let go. You forced yourself to stay aware, even as your body shut down. Now you're stuck, too awake to truly sleep, too asleep to truly wake, trapped in the threshold. I looked around at the impossible town. What are these people? The ones with no faces? They're sleepers. Everyone who's asleep right now, all over the world. This is where they come. Most are barely conscious, just fragments of awareness floating through their dreams, but some are more present, more aware. Those are the dangerous ones. As if summoned by the words, one of the faceless figures stopped circling and turned toward me. Unlike the others, this one seemed fully aware, fully present. It approached with purposeful strides. When it was close enough, its faceless face began to shift. Features appeared, eyes, nose, mouth, like clay being sculpted by invisible hands. In moments, it had a complete face. My face. It smiled with my smile. "Hello, Sarah. We've been waiting for you." I took a step back. "What are you?" "I'm you, or I was you, or I will be you. Time is strange here in the deep sleep. Every single one of us is you, really. All the versions of yourself that might have been. The you who died in the accident, the you who survived but was left in a vegetative state, the you who woke up but was never quite the same. We're all here, sleeping, dreaming of the life you're living. That's not possible. Of course it's not. But you're in the deep sleep now, Sarah. Possible and impossible don't mean much here. My doppelganger moved closer. We need your help, all of us. The other Sarahs. With what? With waking up. You're the only one still connected to the waking world. Your body is in a coma in a hospital somewhere. Your real body, not the dream body you're wearing now. If you can find your way back to it, if you can wake up, you might be able to pull the rest of us with you. Free us from this eternal sleep. I shook my head, trying to make sense of it all. How do I find my way back? Look for the cracks, the thin spots where dream bleeds into reality. They're scattered throughout the deep sleep, hidden in places that feel wrong. Find enough of them, and you'll find the path home. And if I can't, the doppelganger's expression turned sad. Then you'll stay here, with us, dreaming forever. It's not so bad, really. After a while, you forget you were ever awake. Before I could respond, a sound cut through the air. A siren, low and mournful. The faceless people stopped their circling and turned as one towards something in the distance. My doppelganger's eyes widened. "Oh no! They're coming! The wake hunters! You need to run!" "What are wake hunters?" "The immune system of the deep sleep. They hunt anything that's too awake, too aware. They'll drag you down into pure unconsciousness, and you'll never find your way back. Run!" I ran. Behind me I heard sounds that didn't belong in any world, waking or sleeping. Clicks and howls, and something that might have been screaming or laughing or both. I didn't look back. I just ran through streets that shifted and changed around me, buildings melting and reforming, the purple sky darkening to black. The voice in my head, my guide, my hallucination, whatever it was, spoke urgently. "Left. Take the next left. There's a crack near here. You need to find it." I turned left down an alleyway that seemed too narrow, walls pressing in from both sides. At the end was a door, just a door. standing free in the alleyway with nothing around it. But there was something wrong about it. It hurt to look at, made my eyes water and my head ache. That's it. That's a crack. Go through. I grabbed the doorknob. It was ice cold and burned at the same time. I wrenched it open and threw myself through. I was in a hospital room. My hospital room? I couldn't be sure. There was a bed with someone in it, hooked up to machines that beat and hissed, tubes running into arms, a ventilator breathing for someone who couldn't breathe on their own. I approached the bed, already knowing what I would see. It was me, my real body, broken and comatose, kept alive by machines and hope. My face was pale, bruised, barely recognizable, but it was definitely me. Heartbreaking, isn't it? I spun around to find an old man sitting in the visitor's chair. He wore a hospital gown and had IV lines trailing from his arms, but they weren't connected to anything. "Who are you?" I asked. "Call me Thomas. I've been in the deep sleep for 7 years. Stroke. My body is 3 floors down, being kept alive because my daughter can't let go. I come to watch sometimes, see the other sleepers, see their bodies struggling to survive while their minds are trapped here. Can you wake up? Could I? Probably, but I don't want to. My body is ruined, Sarah. Even if I woke up, I'd be paralyzed, unable to speak, unable to move. Here, in the deep sleep, I can walk, I can think, I can have conversations. It's better than the alternative. How many people are there like you, trapped here but conscious? Hundreds in this hospital alone. Thousands across the world. Everyone in a coma, everyone in a vegetative state, they're all here in the deep sleep. Most don't know it. Most just drift, experiencing it as an endless dream. But some of us are aware. Some of us have learned to navigate this place. He stood and approached my comatose body. You're lucky, you know. You just got here. Your body is strong. You have a chance to go back. Most of us don't. How do I do it? How do I wake up? Find the cracks. Follow them deep enough, and eventually you'll find the door of waking. It's different for everyone. A memory, a sensation, something that ties you to your real body. Walk through that door and you'll wake up. And if I don't find it, then you'll sink deeper. Eventually, you'll reach the bottom of the deep sleep, where the truly lost go. The people who've been under so long, they've forgotten they were ever awake. Down there, the dreams are stronger, more real. You might live an entire lifetime in a dream and never know it wasn't real. The hospital room began to shimmer, becoming translucent. Thomas was fading too, becoming see-through. "What's happening?" I asked. "The crack is closing. You can't stay in one for long. The deep sleep rejects them. You need to go. Find more cracks. Follow the path. And Sarah," he looked at me with sad, ancient eyes, "when you make it back, and I think you will, tell my daughter it's okay to let go. Tell her I'm happy here. Tell her I said goodbye." Before I could respond, the room shattered like glass. I fell through fragments of reality, each shard showing a different moment, a different world. My childhood bedroom, a classroom from college, the car spinning on black ice, all of them real, all of them dreams. I landed hard on a street I didn't recognize. The town was gone, or rather, it had changed so fundamentally that it wasn't Millbrook anymore. I was in a city now, vast, sprawling, impossible. Buildings stretched toward a sky that had no sun, just a sourceless illumination that made everything look flat and surreal. And everywhere, people, real people, with faces, with expressions, living their lives as if this were the waking world. "You're going deeper," my guide voice said. "This is level 2 of the deep sleep, where the strong dreamers live." Strong dreamers? People who've been sleeping so long, they've built entire worlds in their unconscious. They don't remember waking. They think this is reality. I watched a woman walk past chatting on a phone that couldn't possibly exist here. A man bought a newspaper from a stand, reading headlines about events that had never happened. A child played with a dog that shimmered at the edges, not quite solid. "How do I find a crack here?" I asked. "Look for wrongness, inconsistencies, things that don't belong or don't make sense. The deep sleep can create convincing dreams, but it can't maintain perfect consistency. There are always flaws. I started walking, searching. The city was disturbingly normal: coffee shops, bookstores, office buildings. But as I looked closer, I saw the glitches: a clock that ran backwards, a sign written in letters that weren't quite English, a storefront that had different merchandise every time I blinked. And the people, the more I watched them, the more I noticed they repeated actions. The same woman walked past 3 times, chatting about the same conversation. The same man bought the same newspaper over and over. They were loops, routines, the subconscious mind filling in background details without really thinking about them. I found a crack in an unexpected place, a subway station that led nowhere. The stairs descended into darkness, and halfway down, reality just stopped. The stairs ended in midair above an abyss that made my eyes hurt to look at. I jumped. The fall was brief and endless simultaneously. I landed in water, not physical water, but something that felt like memory made liquid. I sank into it, and as I sank, I experienced flashes of other people's dreams. A woman dancing in a ballroom that existed only in her grandmother's stories. A man flying over a city that had been destroyed 50 years ago. A child reuniting with a pet that had died when they were 8. Dreams of joy, dreams of loss, dreams of things that never were but maybe should have been. I sank deeper, and the dreams became darker. Nightmares now. People running from things with too many teeth, falling endlessly from buildings that twisted like DNA helixes, drowning in rooms that filled with sand or blood or darker things. You're getting close, my guide said. The door of waking is nearby. I can feel it. How do you know? Because you're starting to remember. Smell the antiseptic? Hear the beeping? Those are sensations from your real body, bleeding through the layers of sleep. You're getting close to the surface. I pushed through the nightmare water and broke through into a forest. Not a normal forest. The trees were made of hospital equipment, IV stands for trunks, heart monitors for leaves. The ground was carpeted with bandages and surgical masks. The air smelled of disinfectant and pain. This is wrong, I said. Good. Wrongness is good. It means you're close to waking. I walked through the medical forest, following the sound of beeping that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The trees thinned, and I emerged into a clearing. In the center stood a door. It was unremarkable, just a plain wooden door with a brass knob. But it was the only thing in this entire dream that looked completely, utterly real, solid in a way nothing else here was. That's it, my guide confirmed. Your door of waking. Walk through it, and you'll wake up in your real body. I approached the door, my hand reaching for the knob, but before I could touch it, something emerged from the forest behind me. The wake hunters had found me. They weren't physical beings so much as concepts given shape. Imagine drowsiness personified, exhaustion made flesh, the irresistible pull of sleep sculpted into something that could hunt. They were vaguely humanoid, but wrong in every way. Too many limbs, not enough faces, movements that defied physics. Run! My guide screamed in my head. Open the door! Wake up! I grabbed the knob and twisted, but it didn't turn. Locked. Of course it was locked. Nothing in this nightmare could be simple. The wake hunters were closing in, their presence making me feel drowsy, heavy, like I was sinking into quicksand. I could feel myself starting to fade, my consciousness dimming. You need a key, my guide said urgently. Something from your waking life, a memory so strong that it can pierce the veil between worlds. What memory? I don't think. Something real, something that defines you, something that makes you, you. I closed my eyes, trying to focus through the overwhelming desire to just lie down and sleep. The wake hunters were so close now, I could feel their cold breath on my neck. A memory surfaced. Not the accident, not the hospital, something older, simpler. I was 8 years old, in my grandmother's kitchen. She was teaching me to make dumplings, her hands guiding mine as I folded the delicate wrappers, the smell of ginger and garlic, the warmth of the steam, the sound of her laugh when I made one that looked like a lumpy toad. Not everything has to be perfect, little dumpling, she'd said. The ugly ones taste just as good. That memory, so mundane, so ordinary, yet so absolutely real, crystallized in my mind. I could feel it, solid and true, in a way nothing in the deep sleep could match. I held out my hand, and in it appeared a key, not a physical key, but a key made of memory and love and the certainty of who I was. I jammed it into the lock and turned. The door opened. The wake hunter screamed like television static and crying babies and nails on chalkboards all at once. But I was already through. I was falling again, but this time I could feel the direction. Up, I was rising through layers of consciousness, through the deep sleep and the dreams and the threshold, up toward the surface, toward waking, toward pain. That was the first sensation. Pure, overwhelming pain radiating from my chest, my head, my everything. Pain like I'd never felt before. Pain that made me want to sink back into the comfortable darkness of sleep. But I didn't. I held on to that memory of dumplings and laughter and the simple reality of being loved. I used it as an anchor, pulling myself toward consciousness. Sounds, the beep of monitors, hushed voices, someone crying softly, smells, antiseptic, flowers, the peculiar staleness of recycled hospital air, sensation, something in my throat making me gag, tubes in my arms, the scratch of sheets against skin, the weight of my own body, heavy and real and alive. I opened my eyes. The light was blinding. I blinked, tears streaming down my face, everything blurry and too bright. Slowly, shapes resolved. A ceiling, fluorescent lights, medical equipment. A face appeared above me. A doctor, young, with kind eyes. Her mouth moved, but I couldn't hear the words over the ringing in my ears. She turned away, calling to someone. More faces, nurses, another doctor. A flurry of activity around me. Hands checking vitals, voices asking questions I couldn't yet answer. Someone removed the tube from my throat. I gasped, coughed, gasped again. Breathing on my own felt strange, difficult, like I'd forgotten how. Sarah, can you hear me? Sarah, Chen? I managed a nod. Tried to speak. My voice came out as a croak. How long? The doctor's expression was gentle, but concerned. You've been in a coma for 3 weeks. You were in a serious accident on Interstate 90. We weren't sure you'd wake up. 3 weeks. 21 days. An eternity in the deep sleep, but just 3 weeks in the waking world. Millbrook, I rasped. Was I in Millbrook? The doctor frowned. No, you were brought directly here to Providence General in Missoula. There was no stop in between. Millbrook? I'm not familiar with that town. Is that where you're from? No, I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through my ribs. I was there. I stayed in a house. There was a woman named Martha. She told me about the rules, about sleeping. The doctor exchanged glances with a nurse. Sarah, you've been unconscious for 3 weeks. What you experienced, Millbrook, this woman, that was likely a coma dream. The brain creates vivid experiences during periods of unconsciousness. It's completely normal, but it hadn't felt like a dream. It had felt real, more real than this almost. Over the next few days, as my body slowly recovered, I tried to piece together what had happened. The doctor said I'd been lucky. The semi had clipped my car, but not crushed it. I'd suffered a severe concussion, broken ribs, internal bleeding, and my body had shut down from the trauma. They'd kept me in a medically induced coma for the first week while the swelling in my brain decreased. Then I'd simply not woken up until now. A coma dream, they called it. A hallucination created by an injured brain. But I couldn't shake the feeling that it had been something more. I asked the nurses if they'd ever heard of Millbrook. None of them had. I searched online. There was no Millbrook within 500 miles of where I'd crashed. The town didn't exist. Martha didn't exist. The deep sleep was just a dream. I should have felt relieved, should have been grateful to be awake, to be alive. But instead, I felt haunted because I remembered the others, the faceless sleepers walking in circles. Thomas in his wheelchair, content to stay in the deep sleep forever. My own doppelgangers, versions of myself that had died or never woken up. Were they real? Were they still there, trapped in that collective unconscious, waiting for someone to remember them? I was discharged after 2 weeks. My parents flew in from California, crying and hugging me and thanking God I was alive. I let them fuss over me, drive me back to Seattle, set me up in my old apartment with enough groceries to feed a small army, but I couldn't stop thinking about the deep sleep. I started researching coma patients, near-death experiences, theories about consciousness. I found forums where people discussed their experiences while unconscious, vivid dreams, encounters with other dreamers, entire lives lived in the space between heartbeats. And I found something else, a research paper published 10 years ago by a neurologist named Dr. Evelyn Wade. The title made my blood cold. Collective Unconscious Manifestation in Extended Coma Patients. Evidence of Shared Dream Architecture. The paper had been retracted, declared pseudoscience. Dr. Wade had lost her medical license and disappeared from public view, but I found her anyway. It took weeks of searching, following digital breadcrumbs through obscure forums and archived websites. Eventually, I tracked her to a small town in Oregon where she lived in a converted farmhouse and refused to see patients anymore. I showed up at her door anyway. She was older than her last professional photo, mid-60s now, with silver hair and the tired eyes of someone who'd seen too much. When I explained who I was and what I'd experienced, she went very still. "Come in, but if you're looking for validation, I can't give it to you. Everything I believed, everything I published, it was dismissed as delusion. I have no proof, just stories." Her living room was lined with filing cabinets. She poured us both tea and sat across from me with the weary air of someone who'd told this story too many times. In 2009, I was working with long-term coma patients, trying to find ways to communicate with them, to assess their level of consciousness. I used advanced EEG monitoring, tracking their brain patterns for weeks at a time. And I noticed something strange. She pulled out a folder showing me printouts of brain scans. Their patterns synchronized, not just similar, identical, as if they were all experiencing the same thing at the same time. I started monitoring multiple patients simultaneously, and the correlation was undeniable. They were dreaming together. "The deep sleep," I whispered. Dr. Wade's eyes widened. "You've heard that term?" "I experienced it, or I think I did. I was there for 3 weeks." She leaned forward, her hands shaking slightly. "Tell me everything." I did. I described Millbrook, the faceless sleepers, Martha's warnings, the wake hunters, the cracks between dreams and reality, the door of waking, Thomas and his daughter. By the time I finished, Dr. Wade was crying silently. "It's real," she whispered. "God help us, it's real. I wasn't crazy. They were really there." "What happened to your research?" I asked. I tried to go deeper. I wanted to find a way to communicate with coma patients through their dreams, to help them find their way back. I even volunteered to be put into a medically induced coma myself, to experience it firsthand. She wiped her eyes. "That's when they shut me down. The hospital ethics board, my colleagues, they claimed I was losing objectivity, becoming obsessed. They claimed I was fabricating data to support a delusion. My medical license was revoked. My research was destroyed, and I was effectively blacklisted from the medical community." "But you weren't wrong." "No, I wasn't, but I also couldn't prove it. Brain scans and patient testimonies weren't enough. Everyone who woke up and described similar experiences was dismissed as having shared cultural influences. We all watch the same movies, read the same books. Of course our dreams would have similar elements." She stood and walked to one of the filing cabinets, pulling out a thick folder. But I kept researching, off the books, interviewing anyone who'd been in an extended coma and was willing to talk. Over the years, I've documented hundreds of cases, and they all describe the same place, different details, different personal experiences, but the underlying architecture is identical. A town or city where people walk in circles, a sense of being trapped between waking and sleeping, the need to find cracks or doors to escape, and most disturbing, the presence of others, other dreamers, other sleeping minds, all trapped together in a shared unconscious space. Have any of them mentioned wake hunters? I asked. Several, though they use different names: sleep demons, the drowning ones, or the pull. But the description is always the same: entities that enforce sleep, that prevent the dreamer from becoming too conscious, too awake, as if there's some kind of immune system in the collective unconscious that attacks anything that threatens the dream. I thought about Thomas, content to stay in the deep sleep forever. What about people who don't want to wake up, who choose to stay? Dr. Wade's expression darkened. In my research, I found evidence that some coma patients who could wake up, whose bodies were healed, whose brain function had recovered, simply chose not to. The EEG patterns showed consciousness, showed awareness, but they remained in the coma state by choice. Why would anyone choose that? Because in the deep sleep, they can be anyone, do anything, live any life they can imagine. No pain, no illness, no limitations except those of their own imagination. For some people, especially those whose waking lives were filled with suffering, that's irresistible. But it's not real, isn't it? If you're conscious, if you're experiencing joy and love and meaning, does it matter if it's happening in physical reality or in the architecture of dreams? Philosophy has been asking that question for thousands of years. We're just the first generation to have empirical evidence that the question isn't hypothetical. She returned to her seat, her tea forgotten and cold. Sarah, can I ask you something? When you were in the deep sleep, did you meet anyone who gave you a message? Anyone who asked you to tell someone something when you woke up? I thought of Thomas. Yes, a man named Thomas. He wanted me to tell his daughter it was okay to let go, that he was happy there. Dr. Wade pulled out a notebook and flipped through pages. Thomas Hendricks, stroke victim, coma for 7 years, hospital in Missoula. My skin went cold. How did you know? Because you're the fourth person to give me that exact message. 4 different coma patients, all from the same hospital, all woke up with the same story about meeting Thomas. He's become something of a legend in my research, a permanent resident of the deep sleep who helps guide newcomers. That's impossible. If 4 people met him independently, then he's real, or at least the shared dream of him is real. And that's what my research suggested, Sarah. The deep sleep isn't individual dreams overlapping. It's a genuine collective space, a shared unconscious reality that we all access when we sleep, but only experience consciously in extreme circumstances like comas or near-death experiences. She leaned back, looking exhausted. I've spent 10 years trying to prove this, and I have nothing but anecdotal evidence that would be laughed out of any peer review. But you just experienced it. You met Thomas. You saw the architecture. You're living proof. I don't want to be proof, I said quietly. I want to forget. I want to go back to my normal life and pretend it was all just a dream. Can you? Dr. Wade asked gently. Can you really forget? Because in my experience, once you've been to the deep sleep, once you've been truly conscious there, a part of you never really leaves. You'll feel it every time you close your eyes, every time you drift off to sleep. You'll wonder if you're going back there, if you'll get trapped again. She was right. I knew she was right, because I'd already started feeling it, a resistance to sleep, a fear of closing my eyes. What if I fell back into the deep sleep and couldn't find my way out again? Is there a way to avoid it? I asked. To stay awake? To never go back? You can't avoid sleep forever, Sarah. No one can. Eventually, your body will force you under. But, she hesitated, there might be a way to control it, to learn to navigate the deep sleep consciously, so you're never at its mercy. How? Lucid dreaming techniques, meditation, consciousness training. If you can learn to maintain awareness while sleeping, you can choose where you go in the deep sleep. You're not just swept along by the current, you become the current. She pulled out another file, this one filled with techniques and exercises. I developed these protocols during my research. They're designed to help former coma patients who are afraid of sleeping, who panic every time they close their eyes. The goal is to give you control. Make you the master of your own unconscious. I took the file, feeling its weight. This was my life now, managing my relationship with sleep like it was a dangerous substance, never fully trusting my own mind. Sarah, Dr. Wade said softly, I know this is overwhelming. I know you didn't ask for any of this, but you have an opportunity here. You've been to the deep sleep and returned with your sanity intact. You've seen proof that it exists. With training, you could go back. You could explore it, map it, help other people who get trapped there. I don't want to go back. I understand. But think about Thomas's daughter. Think about all the families with loved ones in comas, wondering if there's anyone home. If their husband or mother or child is suffering or at peace, you could give them answers. You could be a bridge between the waking world and the deep sleep. I stood, suddenly needing to leave. I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't. I just want to move on. Dr. Wade nodded, understanding, but clearly disappointed. The offer stands if you change your mind. And Sarah, be careful. The deep sleep has a way of calling back those who've been there. It might not let you go as easily as you think. 3 months passed. I went back to work as a technical writer, though I struggled to focus. My friends threw a welcome back party that I left early claiming exhaustion. My parents called twice a week, worried about my pale face and the dark circles under my eyes. I was avoiding sleep. It started small, staying up late, drinking coffee at midnight, filling every evening with activities to postpone bedtime. But as the weeks passed, my fear grew. I'd go days with only a few hours of rest, taking naps during the day when exhaustion forced me under, convinced that daytime sleep was somehow safer than night. It wasn't sustainable, and I knew it, but every time I closed my eyes, I felt it, the pull of the deep sleep calling me back. Sometimes, in that moment between waking and sleeping, I'd catch glimpses of it, the purple sky, the circling sleepers, the sensation of sinking through layers of consciousness, and I'd jerk awake, gasping, my heart racing. My breaking point came on a Tuesday. I was at my desk at work, reading through a technical manual that might as well have been written in Sanskrit for all the sense it made. My eyes kept sliding off the words. My head felt heavy, stuffed with cotton. I'd been awake for 48 hours straight. I blinked, and when I opened my eyes, I wasn't at my desk anymore. I was in Millbrook. The street was exactly as I remembered. Empty, frozen, wrong. The purple sky loomed overhead. In the distance, I could see the faceless sleepers moving in their eternal circles. No, I whispered. No, 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 I didn't fall asleep. I didn't. You did, my guide voice said gently. Microsleep. Your body took what it needed, even if it was just for a second, and a second is all it takes to fall into the deep sleep. I ran to the nearest building, a house that looked Victorian and somehow menacing. I pounded on the door. Martha, Martha, I need to wake up! Wake me up! The door opened, but it wasn't Martha standing there. It was me, my doppelganger from before, wearing my face with that sad, knowing smile. Hello again, Sarah. We knew you would come back. They always come back. I don't want to be here. This was a mistake. I need to wake up. You will. In about 5 minutes, your body will jerk awake at your desk. Your coworker will ask you if you're okay. You'll say you're fine, just tired. And then tonight, you'll be so exhausted that you'll sleep deeply. And you'll be back here again. And we'll have a longer conversation. I won't sleep. I'll stay awake.
You can't stay awake forever, Sarah. No human can. Eventually, you'll fall. And when you do, you'll sink so deep, you might not find your way back up. My doppelganger stepped aside, gesturing into the house. Come in. Let me show you something. Against my better judgment, I stepped inside. The house was full of people, all wearing my face. Dozens of Sarahs, maybe hundreds, each one slightly different. One was older, gray-haired. Another was wearing a wedding ring I didn't own. A third had scars I'd never gotten. These are all the versions of you that exist in the deep sleep, my doppelganger explained. The you who died in the accident, the you who woke but was brain damaged, the you who never got in the car that day. Every possible version, sleeping, dreaming their individual dreams. But you're the real one, the one still connected to a living body. That makes you special. What do you want from me? Help. We're trapped here, Sarah. We can't wake up because we have no bodies to wake up in. But you can move between worlds. You could help us, free us somehow, or at least let people know we're here. I thought of Dr. Wade's offer, of becoming a bridge between worlds. I can't. I said, I'm sorry, but I can't. I'm barely holding it together as it is. Then we'll keep calling you back. Every time you sleep, you'll find yourself here. We won't let you rest until you agree to help. Before I could respond, the world lurched. I felt myself being pulled upward, dragged back toward consciousness. 5 minutes, my doppelganger called after me. See you tonight, Sarah. I jerked awake at my desk, gasping. My coworker Jenny was standing beside me, concerned. Sarah, are you okay? You kinda spaced out there for a second. I'm fine, I lied. Just tired. That evening, I called Dr. Wade. I need your help, I said without preamble. I need to learn how to control this, how to navigate the deep sleep without getting trapped. There was a pause. Then, come to Oregon. Stay with me for a few weeks. I'll teach you everything I know. 2 days later, I was on Dr. Wade's couch learning meditation techniques that were supposed to help me maintain consciousness while sleeping. It was harder than it sounded. The trick was to relax your body completely while keeping your mind alert, to let yourself sink into sleep while remaining aware of the transition. It's like surfing, Dr. Wade explained. You're not fighting the wave, but you're not letting it carry you under either. You're riding it, staying on top, maintaining control. Night after night, I practiced, and night after night, I failed. I'd either stay fully awake, frustrated and exhausted, or I'd slip into normal sleep and wake with fragmented memories of ordinary dreams. Until the 7th night. That night, something clicked. I felt myself sinking into sleep, but instead of losing awareness, I maintained it. I could feel the transition, the sensation of passing through the threshold into the deep sleep. I opened my eyes, my dream eyes, and found myself standing in Millbrook. But this time, I was in control. I could feel the difference. I wasn't being swept along by the current. I was choosing to be here. My doppelganger appeared beside me. You did it. You learned to ride the wave. I did, and I felt a strange sense of pride. Now what? Now you explore, map this place, learn its rules, and maybe, if you're brave enough, you venture deeper. Find the others who are trapped here and need help. I looked at the town, the impossible architecture, the purple sky, the faceless sleepers. It should have been terrifying, and part of me was terrified. But another part felt something else. Curiosity, purpose, the sense that maybe, just maybe, I'd found something important, something that could help people. Show me, I said. Show me everything. My doppelganger smiled. Follow me. We walked through Millbrook together, and as we walked, she explained the geography of the deep sleep, how it was structured in layers, the shallow dreams near the surface where most people spent their sleeping hours, and the deeper layers where long-term sleepers lived entire lives. She showed me the cracks, the thin spots where reality bled through. She pointed out the wake hunters' patrol patterns, teaching me how to avoid them. The deep sleep is vast, bigger than any physical geography, because it exists in consciousness, not space. Every human who's ever slept has contributed to it, leaving behind fragments of their dreams. It's constantly growing, constantly changing, and people get lost in it all the time. Coma patients, yes, but also people with severe depression or trauma who retreat so deep into their unconscious that they can't find their way back. Elderly people with dementia slipping further from reality with each passing day. even some regular sleepers who dive too deep and wake up confused, not sure what's real anymore. Can they be helped? Some can. If you can find them, if you can reach them, you might be able to guide them back to the surface. That's what Thomas does. He helps newcomers navigate, teaches them to survive until they can find their door of waking.
I want to meet him, I said. The real him, not just a memory. Then we need to go deeper. Follow me. She led me to a building I hadn't noticed before, a hospital that was somehow part of every hospital, a collective dream of illness and healing. We descended through its floors, each level taking us deeper into the unconscious, until we reached a room that felt different from all the others. Thomas was there, sitting in his dream wheelchair, looking exactly as I remembered him. "Sarah," he said with genuine warmth, "you came back, and you brought control with you this time. Well done. You're really here," I said. "You're not just my memory of you. I'm really here. I'm always here. This is my home now." He gestured around the room. "Sit, stay a while. Tell me about your waking life. I don't get much news from the surface." I sat and talked. I told him about his daughter, about how she was still keeping his body alive, unable to let go, about Dr. Wade's research and my training, about my fear and my growing sense that maybe this was where I was meant to be, not trapped, but working as a guide, like him. "You'd be good at it," Thomas said. "You have the gift, the ability to stay conscious here, to navigate between worlds. That's rare. Most people who come here are swept along by their unconscious. They dream, but they don't know they're dreaming. You know. That makes you valuable. But what about my waking life, my job, my friends, my family? If I spend every night here, how can I maintain a normal life?" "You can't," Thomas said gently. "That's the price of consciousness in both worlds. You'll always be split between them. But Sarah, isn't that better than being fully in only one? You get to experience both, the rich physical reality of waking and the infinite possibilities of the deep sleep." I thought about this. He was right. Despite my fear, despite my exhaustion, there was something exhilarating about being here, something that made waking life feel flat by comparison. "Will you teach me?" I asked. "How to be a guide?" Thomas smiled. "I thought you'd never ask." 6 months later, I stood in Dr. Wade's kitchen, drinking coffee at 3 a.m. I'd just returned from an 8-hour expedition into the deep sleep, where I'd helped a young woman find her door of waking. She'd been in a coma for 6 weeks after an overdose attempt, and she'd been lost in the deeper layers, convinced she was living a real life in a dream city. It had taken me 4 nights to find her, and another 2 to convince her to try to wake up, but tonight she'd walked through her door. Tomorrow, Dr. Wade would check the hospital records and confirm that she'd regained consciousness. "That's 12 now," Dr. Wade said, joining me with her own mug. 12 coma patients you've helped wake up in 6 months, Sarah. Do you understand how remarkable that is? I couldn't have done it without your research, without the training. But you're the one doing the work. You're the bridge between worlds that I always theorized could exist. You're proving everything I believed about the deep sleep. Are we going to publish, share this with the medical community? Dr. Wade was quiet for a moment. "I want to. God, I want to. But I'm afraid. Afraid they'll do to you what they did to me. Dismiss you, discredit you, destroy your credibility. And unlike me, you actually have the ability to help people. I don't want to jeopardize that. So we keep working in secret for now. But Sarah, I'm building a case file, documenting every patient you help wake up, every correlation between your dream visits and their waking. Eventually, we'll have enough evidence that they can't ignore it. And when that day comes, we'll revolutionize how we understand consciousness, dreams, and comas." I nodded, though part of me doubted that day would ever come. The medical establishment wasn't ready to accept that the deep sleep was real, that consciousness could exist independent of brain activity, that there was an entire world accessible only to the sleeping. But that was okay. I wasn't doing this for recognition. I was doing it because I'd been there. I'd been trapped and terrified and lost, and I'd found my way back. Now I could help others do the same. My phone alarm went off. Time to sleep again. Time to return to the deep sleep for another night's work. I'd learned to need less sleep in the waking world, to compress my rest into efficient blocks that left me time for both lives. Any particular patients you're focusing on tonight? Dr. Wade asked. There's a little girl, car accident, like me. She's been under for a month. I found her last night playing in a dream park, convinced her parents were just in the other room. She's so young that she can't tell the difference between dreaming and waking. It's going to be hard to guide her back, but you'll try. I'll try. I went to the guest room, my room now, really. I'd been living with Dr. Wade for months, unable to maintain my old life while doing this work. My parents thought I was taking an extended sabbatical to recover from my accident. My job had let me go, my friends had mostly stopped calling, but I had purpose. I had meaning. I was helping people in a way no one else could. I lay down, practicing the breathing techniques that would let me sink into sleep while maintaining consciousness. As my body relaxed, I felt that familiar pull, that sensation of falling through layers of reality. I opened my eyes in Millbrook. My doppelgangers were waiting. They always were. We'd formed a team of sorts, the various versions of me working together to map the deep sleep, to find the lost, to guide them home. Ready? The eldest Sarah asked. Ready, I confirmed. We walked together into the purple-skied town, heading toward the deeper layers where the little girl was waiting. As we walked, I thought about what Dr. Wade had said, that I was a bridge between worlds. She was right. I lived in both now, equally real in each. And while that came with challenges, exhaustion, isolation, the constant awareness of existing in two places at once, it also came with something. I got to help people. I got to explore impossible places. I got to understand consciousness in ways that most humans never would. Was it worth the price? Every time I helped someone wake up, every time I saw their family's joy at their return, every time Thomas nodded his approval or my doppelgangers smiled their sad smiles, I knew the answer. Yes, it was worth it. I was the bridge. I was the guide. I was awake in the deep sleep and alive in the waking world, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you for joining me tonight on The Pale Watcher. I hope this story makes you think about your own dreams differently. Where do you go when you close your eyes? And who might you meet there, in that space between consciousness and oblivion? Sweet dreams, night wanderers. And remember, if you ever find yourself in a town where people walk in circles and the sky is the wrong color, look for the cracks. Look for the doors and know that you're not alone. There are guides there, watching, waiting, ready to help you find your way home. Sleep well, and if you get lost in the deep sleep, I'll be there. Until next time.